Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our review discussion for Star Wars Battlefront. I'm Dan Stapleton, and this is Mitch Dyer.
Hello.
Brian Altano.
Hello.
Brian Albert.
Hello.
I'm a trendsetter.
So our topic this time around is, does Battlefront sacrifice too much depth for fun? Just for pure, unfettered fun. Just run around and shoot people. Brian, let's start over here with you. What do you think?
I don't know about too much, but it does.
There's a balance to be struck.
There's a balance.
Does it go too far?
I did not think that I would enjoy a game that sacrificed the depth for just, go have some fun and shoot for an hour.
And what kind of depth do you think is
like
sacrificed?
if I'm walking around, I can't, and maybe it's because all shooters are so mobile these days. But like I can't, unless I get the jetpack, which takes up one of my spots. Like I can't move fast. I can't like go over anything. I feel like I'm like being funneled, through the level design just in one direction, whichever way the radar has the little red dot on it. I'm just kind of like walking there, and everything's very like flat and horizontal and slow. And there are like 10 guns, but aside from a few that are like super close range, like the Jawa blaster looking thing, or they all kind of feel pretty similar to me. Or like Han Solo's pistol's good. I'm kind of rambling now, but the point I'm trying to get at is, I feel like everyone kind of has the similar weapons, and there aren't a lot of different star cards, and you can equip a lot of different things, and that would bother me, but I'm having so much fun just playing for short times with my friends in this like beautifully realized world that it's not. So like, yes, there is not a lot of depth there, either like in loadouts or mechanically. There's just so much auto aim and lock on. But I'm having a good time because I'm playing it with friends. And
I personally find that like accessibility to be a good thing for me, because it just feels like certain first-person shooters kind of corner the audience on making it so specifically driven on just kind of intense precision on everything, and the mobility thing is a huge, and verticality is a huge part of shooters nowadays, but it's not really a huge part of Star Wars. So like,
it never has been for Battlefront, aside from when like, an A-wing's flying overhead.
But there are moments where you're like, I'm in an intense firefight, person to person with somebody, and really my only options are to get shot in the face. Like, you don't really have a lot of like, I'm gonna jump out of here. Like, you have your jetpack and stuff, but it doesn't really help in, a 6-foot-high ceiling. Like, watching Boba Fett do that in one of the Hoth tunnels is actually really funny.
I haven't seen that.
But I actually like, I appreciate the fact that it's not, you have your left hand, your right hand, and your center card, right? And you can customize that to a degree, but for the most part, it's pretty straightforward. And it just feels like this is the couple of things you can bring. And when you die, you can switch out loadouts and stuff like that. But I actually like the fact that it's arcadey, and I know that word gets thrown around, or even casual. Like, both of those words are pretty negative when it comes to like hardcore shooting and video games and quotes. But I think that those are a good thing in this case, and it makes the matches kind of more fun and more brisk, and yeah, they're more chaotic in that way. But on the same page, like, I kind of like that.
Yeah, I think you guys nailed it. I'm not coming to this game, and I never expected this game to be the sort of like IV drip of competition that I want.
Right.
Like, there are other games that are available for that. Here, I'm coming here for Star Wars. First and foremost, I'm coming for the themes.
And what specifically kind of depth do you think is missing? Just to spell that out.
I think I see a lot of people talking about the problems of this game being like mechanical depth being missing, and that might come back to what Brian's talking about with weapons not really feeling distinct enough. It might come down to there are a limited number of vehicles. There are a limited number of ways to interact with an enemy. There are a limited number of types of enemies. Versus, I think the depth of this game is spread out across multiple modes. Like, if you go to survival, you can fight against the Shadow Trooper and the Scout Trooper and the jetpack guys and the guys with the shields. And there's a variety there, and there's more stuff there than you kind of engage with moment to moment in multiplayer. And I think that a lot of the depth in multiplayer ends up buried beneath the unlock system, which just takes a lot of investment. It takes a lot of time before you can get that jetpack, before you can get around. It takes a lot of time before you can pop a shield to protect yourself. But there is that stuff there, and I think that people might have come to this expecting a Battlefield sort of game where you've got all these different kinds of aerial vehicles you can get into at any time, and different ground vehicles that can counter them more effectively than a turbo laser or something. But for me, I'm with you guys. I think that the stuff that's there, the tools that are available, and then the items that you can bring into the battle gives the game depth. And I don't know that it not being as complex as something like Battlefield or Call of Duty is necessarily a bad thing.
Personally, I think adding too much complexity to it would take away from the fun that is being like Star Wars.
Yeah.
I think adding too much stuff to it would make it feel less like a pure Star Wars run and gun experience, which is kind of what I'm there for.
Yep.
I think a lot of Star Trek games are a great example of kind of going off script in order to add all these gamey things to it. Like Star Trek Online is the one I use as an example for this a lot, where everyone's supposed to be in Starfleet, but everyone's wearing a completely different uniform, and uniform means the same.
Yeah.
So that doesn't make sense.
And that's why I love that the stormtroopers in this all look basically the same, aside from like maybe the heads or the backpacks or whatever.
Right. So when I watch a Star Wars movie, I see everyone using basically the same weapons. There's not a big variety. I think if they made up a bunch of new stuff just to give it that kind of the depth that we see in other games, I think that would take away from the authentic feel of it. So it definitely is a trade-off. But I think that personally, for me, I think that the Star Wars atmosphere that they gain by keeping it simple makes it appealing.
I totally agree. I think that authenticity to a fake world or fake universe is what really makes this game shine so much. Like there are little things like, watching a character, watching explosions happen look like explosions from a 70s movie. And they could have made them look like video game explosions. They don't. Like Star Wars isn't a sniper rifle, long con sort of held at battle kind of thing. It is very pew, pew, pew. And people have been using that sound effect to describe this game negatively. And I'm like, well, that's what I came
That's
here
why I
for.
love it.
There aren't, like, the only characters in Star Wars with sniper rifles are like Tusken Raiders, and they shoot pod racers because they're
shoot
all
small
and
children.
that bounty hunter in the episodes we shall not discuss.
Yes.
But I think one potential major drawback of this is that that this game probably won't have a super long lifetime. Partially because it does lean so heavily on that atmosphere that's kind of a photorealistic style, and that never ages well. Like a few years down the line, once kind of the shine wears off of its graphics and things are out there that look a lot better, is there going to be something that draws us back to this? Maybe not.
I feel like I'll come back for DLC.
Yeah,
and
it'll
play
be the
it for a
season
week.
pass. However
Yeah.
long the season pass goes on, that's how long my group of friends is going to play.
Yeah.
And I think that's the best thing for me about this is I finally have a shooter that all of my friends are playing because of that accessibility, because of whatever perceived lack of depth there is. If that's the sacrifice that I need to make to have a party of 8 having a really good time playing a Star Wars shooter, I will take that every day.
All right. Well, that's that's part 3 of our review discussion for Star Wars Battlefront. Please join us for much more. Thanks, Brian, Mitch, and Brian.
Thanks, Dan.